Hi everyone. First of all, we are in the new month of Adar. I'm sure we're going to have plenty of times of talking about the beauty of the month of Adar, the Ma'adim L'Simcha, should be Mishenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha, and let's hope it should be a happy month for us, for all Am Yisrael, and as Rashi says, that the month of Adar is the Simcha of Adar and the Simcha of Pesach too. So let's hope we're getting in now to moments of Simcha, joy, redemption with Mashiach. Just one line regarding this week's Parsha. In this week's Parsha we're learning about building, constructing the tabernacle, the Mishkan, with many details, and every detail has a world of teachings, world of beautiful thoughts that we can learn. But is one famous one that the Rebbe would always talk about in this Parsha, about the Atzei Shittim Oimdim, that to build the Mishkan they had to build with Atzei Shittim. But the truth is, it's not only the walls of the Mishkan, many articles of the Mishkan was built with this Atzei Shittim. I think it's cedar wood. And many commentaries talk about it, the idea of this type of wood that the Mishkan was built with, the altar was built with, the altar inside the temple, the table, and so on and so forth, all built from the Atzei Shittim. As we know, the great beautiful thought that the Rebbe gives us, that what is the idea of Atzei Shittim? Shittim comes from the word shtus, foolishness. And the idea of building the Mishkan with Atzei Shittim, on all the articles, many articles, that was built with Atzei Shittim, is the idea of foolishness of Kedusha. And as the explanation is, by building the Mishkan with Atzei Shittim, the idea is the transformation, to transform from foolishness of evil, of bad, to foolishness of Kedusha. And in short, the idea is that the Gemara tells us that if somebody fails, it's only because of his foolishness. The reason a person fails is because the foolishness comes into him. So therefore, in order to rectify, in order to come back and come back strong and come back becoming close to God, we have to change. Instead of our foolishness should bring us to the negative, that's called foolishness of Klippa, we have to transform, and we have to do foolishness of Kedusha. In other words, as the Rambam says, we cannot go in the middle. When you fail, you got to go to the other extreme. If you fail because you did foolishness, you have to rectify by going to the other extreme. That's called shtus de Kedusha, foolishness of Kedusha. And only by doing that, this is how we can rebound or reconnect. And as we'll learn in the sixth Parsha, be it with the idea of building the Mishkan with Atzei Shittim, with this type of wood, that symbol of it is that the Mishkan is to rectify. The Jews were just there, that they failed in the golden calf. And as we said before, that failure comes by sin. And the sin of the golden calf came because of the foolishness of Klippa. So we have to do completely the opposite in order to go back to God. And this is why God says right away, how are we going to rectify all that by building the Mishkan for God? But the Mishkan has got to be built from Atzei Shittim, from the idea of foolishness of Kedusha. And the message is, in order to become close to God, you have to go in the heights, not based on your calculations and understanding. You have to act sometimes like a fool. You have to forget about your calculations, your limitations. And only when you get out of that, that's when you can really have that connection to God. And that's the Atzei Shittim. Just wanted to share one story I kept on sharing, is the story with our Rebbe. That when the Rebbe was in France, I heard it from my father many years ago. When the Rebbe was in France, and he told the Chabad Hasidim there, that just came out of Russia, and they were on the DP camps, and finally they made it a place to France. So when they came there, the Rebbe said to them, he was there as 1947 to come greet his mother. She also came out of Russia then. So he asked the Hasidim, why don't you do to bring so many Jews in France to bring it back to Hashem? And they were saying, as Russian Jews, we don't know, we can't relate to them, we don't know how to do this, and so on and so forth. Well, the Rebbe showed them and he said, I will show you how we do that. And the story, the way I heard from my father, could be, people say a little bit different, but the way my father told me, that he went on top of a car and he took out his handkerchief from his pocket and he started turning his handkerchief in the air. And people see a young rabbi standing on top of a car turning his handkerchief. It seems a little weird. I would call it foolishness, right? What is a rabbi standing on top of a car and turning his handkerchief? But he was turning and turning, and many people came around to see this great picture. And when many people came around, the Rebbe started talking to them and telling them about what a Jew is and to warm himself up. And after his speech he gave to them, he says, so let's all go over. There was a synagogue right next door, and he brought him in to pray mincha. And when it was all done, the Rebbe turned to Hasidim, you see, this is what we got to do. If you want to be in a calculated way, you can't, you don't know what you can do, you're not sure how you can do, we're not going to get anywhere. In order to really bring God into this world, and this is the idea of the Mishkan, to bring God into this world, to really find a connection, we have to do things above the norm. And that's what the Rebbe did. He was standing on top of a car with a handkerchief. It was not a normal thing to do in France in those days. And that brought so many people back to Hashem. And this is one little lesson that we can learn from this 6th parsha, as it's explained in Lent by the Rebbe many times and places. But let's take this little message to us in the Shabbos, the parsha of Terumah. We building the Mishkan with Atzi Shittim, with foolishness, with going above our limitations, above our barriers, will reach the heights, will bring God to us, will bring Mashiach to us, will succeed in bringing the world to a better place. Have yourself all a good Shabbos.